Deep within a solitary mountain, in a humble mud-walled cottage, resided an elderly man known as Mahbu Balam, aged around 75. That particular night, he was submerged in profound sleep. A deep silence enveloped the surroundings as the night reached its darkest hour. Suddenly, a series of loud, insistent knocks on his door shattered the peace. Startled awake, he wondered aloud, "Who could possibly be at my door at this hour? No one ever ventures to this isolated place." The knocking persisted, growing more forceful until the very door began to tremble. With a slow groan, he rose from his bed, shuffled towards the entrance, and unlatched it. The sight that greeted him made him freeze in astonishment. Two young women, Rui and Sarah, stood on his doorstep. An extraordinary charm radiated from their faces, made even more luminous by the pale moonlight. An unfamiliar sensation stirred deep inside Mahbu Balam's chest. In a quavering voice, he managed to ask, "Who are you two? What brings you to such a deserted location in the middle of the night?" Rui responded with a serene tone, "We were traveling to Balpur but lost our path. We only ask for a single night of shelter. We will depart at dawn." The old man observed them for a long moment before finally conceding, "Come in." The women entered the small room. He gestured to a corner of the hut, saying, "You can rest over there." Rui and Sarah settled down, and quiet gradually returned. However, in the final hours before dawn, Rui was disturbed by the unnerving feeling of being watched. Half awake, she cracked open her eyes to see Mahbu Balam standing over her, his gaze fixed upon her with a peculiar intensity. Sitting up abruptly, she demanded, "What's wrong? Why are you standing here?" The old man replied in a placid voice, "It is nothing. I merely thought you might be cold and came to offer you a blanket." Irritated, Rui snatched the blanket from his grasp, turned her back to him, and lay down once more. Yet, long after she had drifted back to sleep, Mahbu Balam remained, silently observing the two women with that same unsettling stare. Night gave way to dawn. Rui and Sarah approached Mahbu Balam, announcing, "It is time for us to leave now." The old man stayed quiet for a while, his eyes simply fixed on them. Then, in a soft voice, he declared, "No, you cannot depart today. You are to remain for one more night." They exchanged a look of bewilderment. Sarah questioned, "For what reason? Why can't we leave?" Mahbu Balam answered slowly, "The necessary arrangements have not been made. I expect a caravan will be passing this way tomorrow morning. I will arrange for you to travel with them." The mention of a caravan brought a small measure of relief to the women. They conferred and agreed. "Very well, we will wait here until tomorrow morning." A hidden joy flickered within the old man, but he said nothing more, spending the rest of the day watching them from a distance, the intensity in his gaze now noticeably sharper. As evening descended, the women retired to their corner, a shadow of doubt and apprehension growing in their minds. Meanwhile, Mahbu Balam, though on his own bed, kept his eyes trained on them. When the night was at its deepest, he stealthily rose. He moved without a sound toward the women. First, he went to Rui, hovering near her, his presence alone causing her to shift restlessly. He then moved to Sarah's side, his gaze lingering upon her for a long moment with an expression of pure longing. Suddenly, Sarah's eyes flew open and she let out a stifled scream. In a flash, Mahbu Balam covered her mouth to silence her before retreating to his own bed, feigning sleep as if nothing had occurred. Sarah remained awake for the rest of the night, her mind racing with terror. What was the old man's purpose? What were his true intentions? Eventually, overcome by exhaustion and fear, she fell into a troubled sleep. Morning arrived. Rui and Sarah confronted Mahbu Balam. "Has the caravan come? We need to leave now." The old man sat silently for a moment, his gaze unwavering. Then, in a low voice, he said, "No, the caravan has not yet arrived, but it may come by evening." The women were stunned. Rui retorted, "But you assured us the caravan would be here at dawn." The old man replied in a weary tone, "Yes, it was expected, but it has been delayed." They looked at each other and declared, "We are not staying here any longer. Caravan or not, we are leaving today." As they started to gather their things, Mahbu Balam sat in the yard, his strange eyes following their every move. Rui whispered to Sarah, "I don't like the way he is looking at us." Sarah nodded, replying, "You are right. We must get out of this place as quickly as possible. He approached me again last night," Rui confided. "He did the same with me. We cannot endure another night here." They resolved to leave before dusk. But before the sun began to set, Mahbu Balam came to them. "I believe the caravan will now arrive in the morning. They are carrying a heavy load which slows their travel. Please, stay just one more night." This time the women's patience wore thin. "We do not wish to stay. Caravan or no caravan, we are departing this instant." Mahbu Balam attempted to persuade them. "Darkness is falling. Where will you go in these mountains at night? There are wild animals about." There was more craftiness than genuine concern in his voice. The women exchanged a look. They knew this was just another pretext. Nevertheless, they said, "Fine, we will stay, but tomorrow morning, without fail, we are leaving." The old man offered a faint smile, but something sinister lurked behind it. Night fell once more. Rui and Sarah were on high alert. They lay down close together, their eyes wide open in the dark. They spoke in hushed tones, as if sharing their fear might lessen its weight. Rui murmured, "Pretend to be asleep, but keep your senses sharp." Sarah agreed. Meanwhile, Mahbu Balam lay on his bed, one eye cracked open, watching for any sign they had truly fallen asleep. After a long while, when their movements ceased, he slowly rose from his bed. He crept towards them and stood there, just staring. He then knelt by Rui's side, his presence causing her to stir. Startled, Mahbu Balam pulled back and moved over to Ciara. He watched her face intently before his presence made her stir as well. Sarah suddenly opened her eyes, her body trembling with fear. She quickly rolled over, her back facing him. She didn't make a sound, but her reaction was a clear sign she was awake. Mahbu Balam retreated to his bed. A tremor of excitement ran through him, but his face showed no hint of shame. Morning came. Rui and Sarah came forward, their voices sharp. "Is the caravan arranged, or do you have another excuse?" Mahbu Balam remained silent for a beat before saying softly, "No, the caravan has not come." Sarah erupted in anger. "We knew it. There was never any caravan. You've held us captive here for your own reasons." Rui added firmly, "We are not spending another second in this place." They clasped hands and marched toward the exit. But as they got to the door, Mahbu Balam stood blocking their path. In a cold, flat voice, he said, "You are not permitted to leave." Rui shouted, "Get out of our way, or we will scream." The old man replied slowly, "There is no one to hear you. In these mountains, you will find no one to come to your aid." Sarah glared at him. "A man of your years trapping us like this. Have you no shame?" The old man's expression turned serious. "It is not what you imagine. The person you seek in Balapur, perhaps he is closer than you think. You must trust me and stay one more night." Rui asked with suspicion, "How did you know we were going to Bhagalpur to find someone?" The old man said slowly, "I cannot reveal everything now, but tomorrow all your questions will be answered." The women stood frozen, trading looks of disbelief. A storm of questions raged in their minds, but their trust in the old man was completely gone. His words only made them more desperate to escape. They pushed him aside and fled from the cottage. From behind them, Mahbu Balam yelled, "Stop! If you leave now, everything will be for nothing." But the girls did not listen. They ran until they were exhausted and collapsed. Their hearts hammered against their ribs. Fear and confusion etched onto their faces. Just then, the old man appeared before them again, breathing heavily, his voice carrying a mysterious weight. "I am telling you for the final time, if you remain with me tonight, your journey to Balpur will be unnecessary." Rui demanded, "If you know something, why won't you tell us plainly?" The old man took a deep breath. "To tell you now would ruin everything. Just understand this much. You are both searching for your husbands." Hearing this, Rui and Sarah froze, as if the air had been stolen from their lungs. In trembling voices, they confirmed, "Yes, we are looking for our husbands. But how could you know that?" Mahbu Balam replied with a solemn expression. I know everything, but there is a condition. You must both stay with me tonight. Only then will I provide the answers you seek. The women looked at each other, stunned. Fear, suspicion, and a sliver of hope warred in their eyes. Was this another deception, or was there a genuine mystery to unravel? After a long silence, Rui finally spoke. Very well, we will stay. But this is the final night. Sarah nodded in agreement. A flicker of triumph appeared in the old man's eyes. Like the end of a long-awaited countdown was finally near. They returned to the cottage, the women walking ahead while Mahbu Balam followed, a strange light dancing in his eyes. This time, as they laid down, the women were more vigilant than ever. Sleep was impossible. They whispered to each other, "Keep your eyes closed, but do not sleep." Mahbu Balam sat on his bed, his gaze fixed upon them as the night deepened and his restlessness grew. Late into the night, he stood up and silently approached. He first went to Rui, his presence causing her to instantly recoil and turn away in disgust. The old man then moved to Sarah. He gazed at her for a long moment before his presence startled her awake. Frowning, she turned her face away. She remained silent, but her tense body language screamed that she was awake. Mahbu Balam returned to his bed, his eyes showing no regret, only a strange anticipation, as if waiting for a momentous event. The first rays of dawn pierced the cottage walls. Rui and Sarah were still awake, their faces etched with anxiety. Without a second thought, they slipped out of the cottage and walked for a long time until they spotted a young man sitting alone, his back turned to them. Surprised, they approached and asked, "Who are you?" The man slowly turned his face toward them. In that instant, a shockwave went through Rui and Ciara. They screamed his name. "It's our husband!" They rushed forward, throwing their arms around him as tears of joy streamed down their faces. Their impossible dream had come true. In shaking voices, they asked, "How are you here? Are we dreaming?" The young man held them close. "No, this is not a dream. I have truly returned." Joy flooded their hearts, washing away years of pain in an instant. They asked again, "But where have you been all this time? And how did you come to be at that old man's house? We did not trust him at all. Do you know him?" The young man looked at them with deep, knowing eyes. "First, go and find him. See where he is." Ruya and Sarah searched the cottage high and low, but Mahbu Balam was gone. They returned, saying, "He's vanished," as if he simply disappeared. The young man sighed. "Where he went is something you must now understand for yourselves. But first, do you wish to know where I have been?" They answered in unison, "Yes, please tell us." The young man began his story. "One day, while walking to the market, I encountered an old man with a beautiful young woman. The man looked like a sage, but the woman had an otherworldly allure. I foolishly joked with her, 'You are so beautiful. Why are you with this old man instead of someone young?' But the woman's eyes flashed. She looked directly at me, whispered a few words, and blew a breath in my direction. In that moment, I was transformed into the old man you met. My true self was gone." Rui and Sarah listened in stunned silence. He continued. The woman said, "This is your penance. You will remain in this form for the rest of your days, with only one chance at freedom. If those who truly love you spend time with you, see past the illusion, and recognize your soul with pure hearts, only then will the curse be lifted. But you may never reveal your own identity." Tears welled in their eyes. "Then, you were that old man, Mahbu Balam?" The young man slowly bowed his head. "Yes, I was him." Ruhi and Sarah's hearts broke. They rushed to him again, wrapping their arms around his neck, sobbing, "Forgive us. We couldn't recognize you." The young man placed a gentle hand on their heads. "It is not your fault. Your hearts were true, and your love was pure. That truth is what shattered my curse." The three embraced, ready to walk a new path in life together, their bond now forged in deeper faith and trust. This story reveals that a person's true identity lies not in their physical appearance, but in the sincerity of their heart and the purity of their love. True love can transcend any barrier, withstand any test, and will always find its way home. And that concludes our story for today. If you enjoyed it, please consider showing your support by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing.